Welcome back, dear friends, to another exciting episode of the Dispensation of Baha'u'llah. Dear friends, we're on part 21, covering paragraphs 91 through 95 of the Dispensation of Baha'u'llah. And without any further ado, dear friends, we'll have our opening prayer. Thank you so much.
O thou kind Lord, these are thy servants who have gathered in this meeting, have turned unto thy kingdom and are in need of thy bestowal and blessing. O thou God, manifest and make evident the signs of thy oneness, which have been deposited in all the realities of life. Reveal and unfold the virtues which thou hast made latent and concealed in these human realities. O God, we are as plants, and thy bounty is as the rain. Refresh and cause these plants to grow through thy bestowal. We are thy servants, free us from the fetters of material existence. We are ignorant, make us wise. We are dead, make us alive. We are material, bestow us with spirit. We are deprived, make us the inmates of thy mysteries. We are needy, enrich and bless us from thy boundless treasury. O God, resuscitate us, give us sight, give us hearing, familiarize us with the mysteries of life, so that the secrets of thy kingdom may become revealed to us in this world of existence, and we may confess to thy oneness. Every bestowal emanates from thee. Every benediction is thine. Thou art mighty, thou art powerful, thou art the giver, and thou art the ever bounteous. Abdul.
Beautiful, Miss Yuda. Thank you so much. Thank you. Excellent, dear friends. Welcome back. Welcome back. So, dear friends, if you again are joining us, so happy to have you. We are studying the World Order of Baha'u'llah Selected Letters. This is the World Order of Baha'u'llah Selected Letters. We are studying the Dispensation of Baha'u'llah. The Dispensation of Baha'u'llah is the beloved guardian sixth letter, number 6, okay? 6, right? His sixth letter of his World Order of Baha'u'llah letters, and it was written, penned February 8th, 1934, okay? And this letter starts on page 97 in the World Order of Baha'u'llah. Right now, and it starts off in the sections Baha'u'llah, the Bab, Abdul Baha, and now we're entering into the final section, the administrative order. Tonight, it's going to start on the final part, namely the administrative order. And this starts on page 143. 143, if you have a World Order of Baha'u'llah like mine. Okay, so this is where we're going to be starting tonight. Okay, so let me share my screen so we're all, as they say, on the same page. Okay. There we go. Let me do that. Okay, here we go. So this is, as you all know, this is part of the Crimson Academy's course on exploring the Dispensation of Baha'u'llah. Okay, this is part 21 of this course. And in this section, the paragraphs 91 through 95, these are the major themes that are covered. The progression of the day star of divine guidance, the child of the covenant. What is this child of the covenant? Some of you may have heard of Adib Tarizadeh's book, The Child of the Covenant, but child of the covenant? Where is this? What is this term referring to? It's very interesting. It's right there in Dispensation of Baha'u'llah, and the beloved guardian mentions it. Now we're going to talk about Baha'i Administrative Order Charter. as well as the divine origin of the Baha'i administrative order. So these are incredible topics. And as we start now looking at this administrative order that His Holiness Baha'u'llah and His Holiness Abdul Baha has unfurled for us, and by the coming out of this will and testament of Abdul Baha, in that we're going to be exploring and the coming of these twin institutions, namely the guardianship and the Universal House of Justice. It's going to be so cool. I have so many cool slides showing this, per se, unfurling of this administrative order. So let's get into it, dear friends. Okay, here we go. So my dear readers, okay, Miss Claudia, you're up, as they say. You're our first reader. So paragraph 91, if you could kindly take us through this one. And Miss Claudia, I think you are muted, Miss Claudia.
Good to read all that preparatory stuff, does it?
There you
Paragraph
go.
91. Dearly beloved brethren in Abdul Baha, with the ascension of Baha'u'llah, the day star of divine guidance, which, as foretold by Sheikh Hamad and Syed Kazim, had risen in Shiraz, and while pursuing it westward course, had mounted its zenith in Adrianople, had finally sunk below the horizon of Akka, never to rise again, ere the complete revolution of 1,000 years. The setting of so effulgent an orb brought to a definite termination the period of divine revelation, the initial and most vitalizing stage in the Baha'i era, inaugurated by the Bab, culminating in Baha'u'llah, anticipated and extolled by the entire company of the prophets of this great prophetic cycle. This period has, except for the short interval between the Bab's martyrdom and Baha'u'llah's shaking experience in the Siyah Hall of Tehran, been characterized by almost 50 years of continuous and progressive revelation, a period which, by its duration and periodicity, must be regarded as unparalleled in the entire field of the world's spiritual history.
Excellent, Miss Claudia. Excellent.
Fecundity.
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 It means fertility or of ideas, bring about of new, per se, wisdoms and revelation. Fecundity. One of the definitions is fertility. So it's almost the bringing about of this new an age of ideas. Great, Miss Claudia, very well read. Let's go to our next paragraph. So let's us have our next reader. Going to Miss Mary, if you could kindly read this one for us.
Okay. The passing of Abdul Baha, on the other hand, marks the closing of the heroic and apostolic age of this same dispensation, that primitive period of our faith, the splendors of which can never be rivaled, much less be eclipsed by the magnificence that must needs distinguish the future victories of Baha'u'llah's revelation. For neither the achievements of the champion builders of the present-day institutions of the faith of Baha'u'llah, nor the tumultuous triumphs which the heroes of its golden age will in the coming days succeed in winning, can measure with or be included within the same category as the wondrous works associated with the names of those who have generated its very life and laid its pristine foundations. That first and creative age of the Baha'i era must, by its very nature, stand above and apart from the formative period into which we have entered and the golden age destined to succeed it.
Thank you so much, Miss Mary. Thank you. Okay. So this is now talking about this period after the passing of Abdul Baha, the bringing about of this new age, this formative age, and that we are all living in. All right. And our next reader, let's go to Riaz John, if you could kindly read this for us.
Abdul Baha, excuse me, Abdul Baha, who incarnates an institution for which we can find no parallel whatsoever in any of the world's recognized religious systems, may be said to have closed the age to which he himself belonged and opened the one in which we are now laboring. His will and testament should thus be regarded as the perpetual, the indissoluble link which the mind of him who is the mystery of God has conceived in order to ensure the continuity of the three ages that constitute the component parts of the Baha'i dispensation. The period in which the seed of the faith had been slowly germinating is thus intertwined both with the one which must witness its efflorescence and the subsequent age in which that seed will have finally yielded its golden fruit.
Excellent, Riaz John. Thank you. Thank you for reading. We move to paragraph 94. I know these paragraphs are so rich and we just want to stay on each one and delve into them, but let's get through them and then we'll examine each one of them as we always do. Okay, paragraph 94. Okay, let's, Miss Marianne, if you could kindly read this one for us.
The creative energies released by the law of Baha'u'llah, permeating and evolving within the mind of Abdul Baha, have by their very impact and close interaction given birth to an instrument which may be viewed as the charter of the new world order, which is at once the glory and the promise of this most great dispensation. The will may thus be acclaimed as the inevitable offspring resulting from that mystic intercourse between him who communicated the generating influence of his divine purpose and the one who was its vehicle and chosen recipient. Being the child of the covenant, the heir of both the originator and the interpreter of the law of God, the will and testament of Abdul Baha can no more be divorced from him who supplied the original and motivating impulse, that from the one who ultimately conceived it. Baha'u'llah's inscrutable purpose, we must ever bear in mind, has been so thoroughly and infused into the conduct of Abdul Baha and their motives have been so closely wedded together that the mere attempt to dissociate the teachings of the former from any system which the ideal exemplar of those same teachings has established would amount to a repudiation of one of the most sacred and basic truths of the faith.
Very well read, Miss Marianne. Thank you so much. All right. And continuing on. Okay, and we go to paragraph 95. This is the last one. I'll read this one so our dear friends can take a break. The administrative order, which ever since Abdul Baha's ascension has evolved and is taking shape under our very eyes in no fewer than 40 countries of the world, may be considered as the framework of the will itself, the inviolable stronghold wherein this newborn child is being nurtured and developed. This administrative order, as it expands and consolidates itself, will no doubt manifest the potentialities and reveal the full implications of this momentous document, this most remarkable expression of the will of one of the most remarkable figures of the dispensation of Baha'u'llah. It will, as its component parts, its organic institutions, begin to function with efficiency and vigor, assert its claim, and demonstrate its capacity to be regarded not only as the nucleus, but the very pattern of the new world order, destined to embrace in the fullness of time the whole of mankind. So there we are, dear friends, paragraphs 91 through 95, right? Entering into our final part, namely the administrative order. Okay? So, oh, my chubby fingers. Sorry about that, dear friends. I don't know if you can see what that popped out. Okay, so this now as in paragraph 91. Dearly beloved brethren in Abdul Baha, with the ascension of Baha'u'llah, the day star of divine guidance, which, as foretold by Sheikh Ahmed and Sayyid Kazem, so these two had announced to the world the coming of this coming. Sheikh Ahmed and Sayyid Kazem had risen in Shiraz. Who had risen in Shiraz? The Blessed Bab. And while pursuing its westward cause, had mounted its zenith in Adrianople, right? The announcing of Baha'u'llah in Adrianople. And finally sunk below the horizon of Akka, right? And that is where Baha'u'llah was imprisoned in Akka. Never to rise again ere the complete revolution of 1,000 years. The setting of so effulgent an orb brought to a definite termination of the period of divine revelation, the initial and most vitalizing stage in the Baha'i era. Inaugurated by who? The Blessed Bab. So the Baha'i cycle starts with the Blessed Bab, culminating in Baha'u'llah. I love the beloved guardian's language because this is, as they say, a fundamental truth, a fundamental verity of our faith. And he keeps reiterating this because it's something so important. Inaugurated by the Bab, culminating in Baha'u'llah. So if you remember that analogy of the sun, remember? When the sun was just starting out, it was starting in the vernal equinox. This is an analogy of Abdul Baha that we read earlier. He says the sun was in the vernal equinox. And it was when it was talking about the zodiac. And then later on, this was in the And then later on, it was in Leo, which is in the midmost highest point. So here, culminating in Baha'u'llah. And then the beloved guardian mentions that these twin messengers, the twin manifestations of God, have been anticipated and extolled. Extolled means praised, glorified. By who? The entire company of the prophets of this great prophetic cycle. So remember, this is the Baha'i cycle. So the entire prophetic cycle pre His Holiness the Bab have been what? Anticipating and extolling them. So praising them and awaiting them, right? So this has been what has happened, except for what? So all the way up to 1850, right? Martyrdom of the Blessed Bab. So July 9th, 1850, what does it say? It says, except for this short interval between the Bab's martyrdom, July 9th, 1850, and Baha'u'llah's shaking experiences in the Siyah Chal. So His Holiness Baha'u'llah was in the Siyah Chal, 1852, in the winter. So apart from that very short period duration, the beloved guardian says, the entire period being characterized by almost 50 years of continuous and progressive revelation, a period which by its duration and fecundity must be regarded as unparalleled in the entire field of the world's spiritual history. It's been so rich, so continuous, and having this period of fecundity, I mean, just constant fertility of knowledge and fresh ideas pouring out on the world. This is the period of the ministries of the Blessed Bab, Baha'u'llah, and the intensity that has been coming from this revelation of this. Here is directly talking about the revelation of Baha'u'llah. Then the passing of Abdul Baha, on the other hand. Passing of Abdul Baha, we're talking about in paragraph 92. On the other hand, marks the closing of this period, this heroic age. Heroic age was the period of the Blessed Bab, His Holiness Baha'u'llah, and the ministry of Abdul Baha. So now the heroic age, the apostolic age, is coming to a close of the same dispensation. That primitive period of our faith, the splendors of which can never be rivaled. So if we ever say, oh, we're doing really good in the formative age and there's incredible things going on. No. That the splendors can never be rivaled of what happened during the heroic ages. This is what the words of our beloved guardian. Much less be eclipsed by the magnificence that must needs distinguish the future victories of Baha'u'llah's revelation. For neither the achievements of the champion builders of the present-day institutions of the faith of Baha'u'llah, nor the tumultuous triumphs which the heroes of its golden age will in the coming days succeed in winning, can measure with or be included within the same category as the wondrous works associated with the names of those who have generated its very life and laid its pristine foundations. So even all the incredible achievements of the champion builders of these institutions that we've mentioned, so many of them during our course in Advent of Divine Justice, all those incredible heroes and heroines, they pale in comparison to the triumphs and the sacrifices and all those things to the heroes and heroines of the heroic age. This is something that they have per se laid the very foundations with their own blood and sacrifices. This is the words of the beloved guardian. They have through the sacrifice of their bloods, they have per se grown the seed, the seed, and the seed has taken root through their sacrifices. That first and creative age of the Baha'i era must by its very nature stand above and apart from the formative period into which we have entered and the golden age destined to succeed it. So that era, that period stands above as well as apart from the very age that we are currently in, namely the formative period. Then this incredible paragraph, not that we have, if we had a whole section entitled Abdul Baha, the uniqueness of Abdul Baha, the station of Abdul Baha, how the misconceptions regarding the stationhood of Abdul Baha. And the beloved guardian again comes along just to hit it home again, because this is a fundamental truth of who Abdul Baha is. In paragraph 93, the beloved guardian, Abdul Baha, who incarnates an institution. So Abdul Baha is an institution himself, namely the center of the covenant, for which we can find no parallel whatsoever in any of the world's recognized religious systems. So Abdul Baha, again, is unique. There's no comparison to Abdul Baha. He may be said to have closed the age to which he himself belonged and opened, in which we are now laboring. As we all know, His Holiness Abdul Baha was happened to be born the same night as the declaration of the Blessed Bab. So at the time when the Blessed Bab announced himself and that Baha'i cycle started, and then the Baha'i, from the point of the heroic age starting to the heroic age ending with the passing of Abdul Baha, that literally was the period of Abdul Baha's entire life. So that's also an interesting fact. His will and testament should thus be regarded as the perpetual, the indissoluble link. This is a very powerful quote here. This is regarding the will and testament. And the next paragraph is also about the will and testament. His will and testament, so whose will and testament? Abdul Baha's, should be regarded as the perpetual, the indissoluble link which the mind of him who is the mystery of God has conceived in order to ensure the continuity of the three ages that constitute the component parts of the Baha'i dispensation. So who is this mystery of God? Abdul Baha, right? Sirullah. So this is the mind of Abdul Baha continuing this revelation, okay? And this is an incredible extract talking about this is the indissoluble link, cannot be broken, cannot be dissolved. This is the covenant of Baha'u'llah, that it is ensuring the continuity of these three ages. Okay, the period in which the seed of the faith had been slowly germinating, the heroic age, and then coming to, now we're in the formative age, right? And then eventually, subsequent age will have finally yielded its golden fruit, namely the golden age. So dear friend, this is Abdul Baha here in the Will and Testament. It is his finest fruit, is this Will and Testament. And we're going to talk about it in paragraph 94 here. This is an incredible paragraph, and I encourage in your privacy again to read and reread this paragraph. The creative energies released by the law of Baha'u'llah permeating and evolving within the mind of Abdul Baha. Remember, dear friends, we've seen the portrait of Abdul Baha. We think we know who Abdul Baha is as the eldest son of Baha'u'llah, this incredible, unique creation of Baha'u'llah, this mystery of God, the perfect incarnation of every Baha'i ideal and the culmination of every Baha'i virtue is Abdul Baha, the exemplar of the cause, the center of the covenant. All of these are appellations and titles attributed to Abdul Baha, but he is so much more, and he is at the very essence the servant of Baha'u'llah. Remember, my name is Abdul Baha, my title is Abdul Baha, my glory is and highest honor is Abdul Baha. So when we get to the heart of it, at the very essence is service, right? And so when we look at this this paragraph, that his driving force, who is Abdul Baha? He is the vehicle, the perfect vehicle created by Baha'u'llah to encapsulate the faith of Baha'u'llah. And Baha'u'llah is per se the divine electricity to start that vehicle, right? He is the divine energy source to start that vehicle. The coming together of the divine electricity and the perfect vehicle to be able to announce and take the faith, the coming together. This is the child of the covenant, namely the will and testament, which will bring about the cause of Baha'u'llah, namely the institutions, the administrative order, and all of this. So this is what it's talking about here, this is the coming, is the creative energies released by the law of Baha'u'llah in the Kitab Aqdas, permeating and evolving then within the mind of Abdul Baha, have by their very impact and close interaction to the laws of Baha'u'llah Kitab Aqdas, and then through the evolving mind of Abdul Baha through the will and testament of Abdul Baha, may be viewed as the charter of this new world order, which is at once the glory and promise of this most great dispensation. The will, namely the will and testament of Abdul Baha, may thus be acclaimed as the inevitable offspring resulting from that mystic intercourse between him, namely Baha'u'llah, who communicated the generating influence of his divine purpose, and the one who was its vehicle, namely Abdul Baha, and chosen recipient, being the child of the covenant, the heir of both the originator and the interpreter of the law of God. The will and testament of Abdul Baha can no more be divorced from him who supplied the original and motivating impulse from the one who ultimately conceived it. The child of the covenant is the will and testament of Abdul Baha. It's the product of the union of the will of Baha'u'llah and the mind of Abdul Baha. So this is the creation, a new creation, and in the will and testament cannot be separated. It is part and parcel of the administrative order. It is, and so this is what the beloved guardian is stating. Baha'u'llah's inscrutable purpose, we must ever bear in mind, has been so thoroughly infused into the conduct of Abdul Baha. This is so cool. This is, when I think of Abdul Baha, right? And I encourage you, your thoughts always to meditate on these things. When you think of Abdul Baha, I think of the analogy that the beloved guardian says, he is a perfectly polished mirror. And when your eyes go to a perfectly polished mirror that is on, positioned on the sun, you see the sun. You're blinded. Your eyes cannot take it. And that is who Abdul Baha is. He is the absolute perfection in all aspects. So that's when it says he's so thoroughly infused. Baha'u'llah is so thoroughly infused into the conduct of Abdul Baha. The qualities, the attributes, absolute perfection. And their motives have been so closely wedded together that the mere attempt, this is a very important line, because remember, these are all the beloved guardian here is constantly reiterating what he has said before. He hammers it down, these fundamental verities. This is a fundamental verity of the faith, that the mere attempt to disassociate the teachings of the former from any system which the ideal exemplar of those same teachings has established would amount to a repudiation of one of the most sacred and the basic truths of the faith. So if you say Abdul Baha is not really associated to the teachings of Baha'u'llah, or, he's not per se perfect in this, or he's not the perfect exemplar, or any aspect of, waffling on this or that, this is a tantamount error and a repudiation of one of the fundamental verities of the faith. So this is very clear. The beloved guardian has reiterated it over and over, that the station of Abdul Baha and as a central figure of the Baha'i faith. Then lastly, in paragraph 95, the administrative order, which ever since Abdul Baha's ascension has evolved. This is another very important point. The administrative order is not stagnant. The Baha'i faith is not stagnant. It is progressive. It is constantly evolving and progressing. It is changing, and it is taking shape under our very eyes. This is the beloved guardian's words. It is changing. It is evolving. In no fewer than 40 countries of the world, this is in time with the beloved guardian. When was this written? Anyone remember the date that I said at the beginning of the class? And
1934.
That's right. Good job, Miss Claudia. February 8th, 1934. This is when the beloved guardian is writing the Dispensation of Baha'u'llah. So here in Dispensation of Baha'u'llah, the beloved guardian is saying in no fewer than 40 countries of the world, the administrative order is taking shape. These are national spiritual assemblies, right? And may be considered as the framework of the will itself, the inviolable stronghold wherein this newborn child is being nurtured and developed. This administrative order, as it expands and consolidates itself, will no doubt manifest the potentialities and reveal the full implications of this momentous document, namely, what? The will of and testament of Abdul Baha, this most remarkable expression of the will of one of the most remarkable figures of the Dispensation of Baha'u'llah. And that, namely, here is Abdul Baha. It will, as its component parts, its organic institutions, begin to function with efficiency and vigor. So he's the beloved guardian saying, don't look at it right now. This is only 1934. He's saying this car is going to operate with efficiency and vigor, right? So this is what he's saying. He's saying this car, this engine, that's why the words of the Universal House of Justice, this engines of growth, right? Talking about the institute process. It's got to get this engine moving, right? And he's saying this is the beginning to function with efficiency and vigor, assert its claim, demonstrate its capacity to be regarded as what? Not only as the nucleus, but the very pattern of the new world order, destined to embrace in the fullness of time the whole of mankind. I tell you an anecdote just to humor you before we go through major key points and all of these things. So a while ago, I had a dream, right? Dreams have, the beloved guardian talks about dreams. Some dreams have meaning. Some dreams, are just per se white noise, whatever. Your mind's overthinking. Anyway, to humor you, I had a dream of what would it be like if most of the world were Baha'is, right? So in my dream, I was walking in a city, and everyone was a Baha'i. I walk around, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. It was mind-blowing. I don't know if many of my dear friends here had been to the World Congress and ever saw what it would be like to be surrounded by thousands of Baha'is. And when I managed to attend the Baha'i World Congress when I was a young child, and it really felt like a whole city was Baha'is. That's when I was a little child in 1992. But that's how it felt. But in my dream, everyone were Baha'is. And it was truly like that. And it was, the Christians got such a, as they say, they got it on a silver tray. They're so blessed to have something like that, right? But as Baha'is, we're at the very start of the race, beginning part, right? And we got a lot of work to do. And in my dream, I got on a bus to go somewhere. And I was constantly shaking hands, Allah Apa, and the person would say, "Where are you from?" And and I would say, where I was from, and they would come and embrace me, Allah Apa. Then I go to the next person, Allah Apa, Allah Apa. And then I realized, oh my goodness, I'm going to be late for my appointment. It's going to take forever. All these Allah Apas, Allah Apas, Allah. It would take so long, so many people, so warm and welcoming and loving. I was like, what an incredible world, this future Baha'i world. Everyone embracing, everyone loving. But I was like, I started getting worried. I'm going to be late for all my appointments. But that was just a fun anecdote. But how incredible this new world that is going to come about. And this needs to come about through action. And we're going to talk about that. It cannot be just by mere hope or prayer, okay? Prayer is a major component too, but it requires action. And that action is opening our mouths to teach. And that, my dear friends, is how the words of Baha'u'llah will start affecting hearts, okay? So that is what is required of us in this day. So let us now get into deeper study of these paragraphs. In this section of the letter, paragraphs 91 through 95, now we're getting into this administrative order. The beloved guardian is describing the divine origin of the Baha'i administration. Where did it come about? He's explaining this administrative order. Where did it come about, right? As well as the highlights its relationship with the will and testament of Abdul Baha and the Kitab Akhtas. It's the culmination, it's the coming together, it's the words of the beloved guardian, the mystical intercourse, the union and the fruition is now the administrative order. It's an incredible creation, unique in the history of faith, the history of religion. There's no such thing as the administrative order. So, my dear Riaz John, if you could kindly go through the major key points of these paragraphs.
The ascension of Baha'u'llah ended 50 years of continuous revelation of the dispensation of Baha'u'llah. The passing of Abdul Baha ended the heroic age of the faith, but opened the formative age that will continue until the establishment of the golden age of the cause of Baha'u'llah.
Pause right there, Riaz John. As we all know and we've read, the beloved guardian also says, here in Dispensation of Baha'u'llah, it says the passing of Abdul Baha ends the heroic age. But in other writings, especially in the document, the passing of his Bahiya Khanum, the greatest holy leaf. So the beloved guardian says more precisely, exactly, Riaz John. The passing of the greatest holy leaf ends that period, namely the heroic age. Okay, so more precisely, it's the passing of the greatest holy leaf. So that was just a clarification. Yeah.
In 1932.
Exactly, 1932. Thank you so much, Riaz.
The Baha'i administration is the result of the evolution of the energies released through the revelation of Baha'u'llah and the mind of Abdul Baha. The will and testament of Abdul Baha can be considered as the offspring of the mystic intercourse between Baha'u'llah and Abdul Baha.
Excellent. Carry on, Riaz John. You read so well.
The will and testament of Abdul Baha is referred to by Shawq Effendi as the charter of the administrative order of Baha'u'llah. The will and testament of Abdul Baha and the Kitab-i-Aqdas are not only complementary, but that they mutually confirm one another and are inseparable parts of one complete unit. The will and testament of Baha'u'llah sets out
Of Abdul Baha, Bibashi, Riaz John.
the will and testament of Abdul Baha
Mhm.
sets out the framework on which the Baha'i administration is built. The Baha'i administration will reveal the full implications and potentialities of the will and testament of Abdul Baha as it evolves and expands.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So there we are. These are the major key points. And so now, as we're started this section on the administrative order, we cannot start the administrative order unless we study the will and testament of Abdul Baha, right? Have an understanding of the will and testament of Abdul Baha. So here, the beloved guardian, as we're entering into this section, entitled the administrative order, the beloved guardian is saying, you got to understand the importance of the will and testament of Abdul. And so he starts outlining it in these paragraphs 91 through 95, because it's the will and testament of Abdul that is really, it's setting out, as it said, the framework of which the entire Baha'i administration is built. So it's something so foundationally important. And we're going to explore the major themes of the will and testament of Abdul Baha in this very part. So paragraph 91, okay? Paragraph 91, the beloved guardian portrays the period of revelation, starting with the declaration of the Blessed Bab and ending with the ascension of Baha'u'llah, 1892. So from 1844 to 1892, as the rising and setting of the day star of divine guidance. And in this journey, the day star arose from Shiraz, was renewed in the Siachal of Tehran, and took its course westward and reached its zenith in Adrianople. What happened in Adrianople that was truly incredible? Anyone?
Tablets to the rulers of the earth.
Absolutely. Truly wonderful, great response, Riaz John. A prisoner from two different regimes, from the Persian regime and the Ottoman regime, sitting in a cell in Adrianople, writing to the rulers of the world. If this is your first, you just happening to come across this class, and you happen to enter right now, and you have just hearing about Baha'u'llah for the first time, I encourage you, who is Baha'u'llah? Find out for yourself. A prisoner writing to the leaders of that time, Napoleon, Queen Victoria, Kaiser Wilhelm, the Pope Pius IX. Go read his words. Don't take my words for it. Go read his words. An incredible, incredible, incredible power emanating from this individual, Baha'u'llah. Read his words, and it will move you as it has moved me. So I encourage you to read, as dear Riaz Jan said, Baha'u'llah in Adrianople wrote to the leaders of the entire world. And what did he say? He said, throw down your arms. Throw down your arms, meaning your weapons of war that you're planning to amass and fight, because we know the wars were coming up, right? They were constantly in wars. He said, throw down your arms and turn to me, meaning Baha'u'llah. Be unified. And this would have brought a lasting peace. This would have brought about a most great peace. But dear friends, we know what happened, right? We know what happened shortly after. They denied Baha'u'llah. They turned from Baha'u'llah. And all their empires turned to naught. The only one was Queen Victoria, what did she say? Riaz John, can you, what did Queen Victoria say as the great queen sitting in England? What did she say?
If these words are from God, it will succeed.
So it's not a denial. It's not a acceptance. But it's just if it's from him, it will last. If it's not from him, it ain't gonna last. Very middle road. And that's what she said and responded. And of all the empires per se, hers, the British Empire, is now virtually over. If you look at what has happened to the British Empire, you all know what the saying, the sun shall not set on the British Empire, right? It had Australia, it had China, it had India, it had Africas, it had the Americas, it had the world, really. This tiny little island called Great Britain, it had the whole world. But what has the British Empire is now? Just a few colonies are left in it. The reality is, this is her response. If it is of God, it will last. If it's not, it won't. All the others, crushing defeats, overthrows, devastation to their empires, revolutions, obliterated. This is, what has happened after the tablets were sent by His Holiness Baha'u'llah. And then finally, the beloved guardian says, finally, this sun set in Akka. And Akka is the final prison fortress that Baha'u'llah was imprisoned for 19 years. This period, except for this short gap between the martyrdom of the Bab in July 9th, 1850, and the declaration of Baha'u'llah in the Siyah Chal in 1852. So that brief, roughly two-year period, that from after 1852 all the way to 1892 represents 50 years of continuous revelation that is unprecedented in religious history. So this is the words of our beloved guardian, 50 years. The milestone identified by the beloved guardian in the course of the day star of divine guidance corresponds to the significant events in the dispensations of the Blessed Bab and Baha'u'llah. The Bab declared his mission on the 23rd May 1844. It's 22nd May 1844, 2 hours and 11 minutes after sunset, making it into the next following day, which it falls to 23rd May 1844, if we're going on a solar year. But it's generally, so that's why we say 23rd May 1844, okay? And was martyred July 9th, 1850, noon. So Baha'u'llah received his intimation of his revelation in the Siyah Chal of Tehran, 1852. I don't know if you've seen the drawing of the Siyah Chal. It's very incredible. Have you seen this, the drawing of it, Riaz John? Oh, you're muted, dear Riaz John.
Very few times. I can't.
I'll send it to the class. It's an incredible drawing. So it shows the whole city of Tehran. I don't know if I have it in this slides, but I'll send it to the class. So it shows the whole city of Tehran on the first surface, and then it shows like a cross cut of what. And so then you could see the staircase going down one level and then down another level and down a third level, because it's 3 flights down. And on the third flight down, there is this opening space, because the Siachal was per se the cesspool of the city of Tehran. It was designed to be the underground cesspool of about 100 or so of these imprisoned prisoners were chained at the neck, hands, and legs together. And these were highwaymen, bandits, and some of the worst criminals, including the wonderful lovers of the Blessed Bab, including His Holiness Baha'u'llah, were part and parcel of this in these 2 rows in the Siachal. And so this was so His Holiness Baha'u'llah would recite the verses, and you've heard, we all verily abide by the will of God, right? He, and in Him let the trust and trust, in Him let the trust and trust. And they would chant it so loudly that the Sultan himself, the king, because from the Siachal to the capital, what is it called, Riaz John? The
Palace.
The palace. Good job, Riaz John. My words were evading me. The palace was a stone throws away. And so he would inquire, what is this anthem? What is this noise I keep hearing? And they would say, this is the anthem of the Babis. And this is the anthem of the Babis, because it would reverberate, because it was 3 floors underground, and they would chant so loudly that it would reverberate. The sounds and echoes of their voice would echo and would come out of the ground, and they would hear the anthem and of the chanting. Truly incredible.
A cross section graphic, a cross section drawing of the site. No, I've not seen that. No.
Oh, you haven't seen that? Okay, I'll send it to the whole class. It's a very interesting graphic that shows that. I'll send it to everyone. Okay, so as you all know, His Holiness Baha'u'llah imprisoned in the Siachal. I encourage you to read the accounts of the suffering of Baha'u'llah during this period Siachal, and then from that period, how he had to traverse in the coldest of winters, to Baghdad. What a period. I encourage you to read the history. And so it got to Baghdad, and then later to Constantinople. And on his journey to Constantinople, he publicly declared his mission as the universal manifestation of God in Adrianople. And so this is the Garden of Rezvan. This is in Baghdad period. So this is where he publicly declared his mission in 1863, and after 12 days departed for Constantinople. The beauty of this garden is apparent through its service to humanity. That is, it was a hospital then, and 2 successive governments have used it similarly as a center where bodily ailments are healed. So even after it was taken over by the governments, it's the intensity, the beauty, the spiritual purity of that spot, the Declaration of Baha'u'llah, it has been used as a hospital site. So That's just an interesting factoid. This is coming from the God Passes By. After 4 months, Baha'u'llah was exiled to Adrianople, where he proclaimed his message to all the kings and rulers of the world at that point in time, right? Summoning them to recognize the day of God and to acknowledge the promised one of all the previous religious scriptures. His Holiness Baha'u'llah himself confirms, never since the beginning of the world have the message been so openly proclaimed. And so here are some pictures. This is the Emperor Francois Joseph of Austria, Napoleon III of France, Abdul Aziz, the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, William Kaiser of Germany, Almania, Pope Pius IX, Nasruddin Shah, Shah of Persia, Alexander, the Tsar of Russia, and here's Queen Victoria. So these are just some of the rulers that His Holiness Baha'u'llah proclaimed in his proclamation in Adrianople. I remember there was one session, many sessions ago, that I think my father was in the session when we were talking about the profuse writings of Baha'u'llah, that it was truly his pen that conquered the world, right? And I joked, I was like, you know, they imprisoned him all the time and these incredible sufferings, but if they only took his pen away, that really would have had an impact. Or even take the bottle of ink away, you know, it's just, that really would have had an impact. But the reality is Baha'u'llah, the essence, the beauty, you know, mystery of the manifestation of God. I mean, who could stop Baha'u'llah? No one could stop Baha'u'llah. This is, you know, so the reality is he had such an attraction. They would bring him paper and ink, and he would you know, reveal a tablet, and his amanuensis Mirza Aghajan would, you know, and then he would, you know, look at that, and then he would do the edits, and then it would be sent off by the Baha'is to get to all of these rulers. So truly amazing. The physical life of His Holiness Baha'u'llah finally ended in 1892 in Akka. And the day star of divine guidance set for at least 1,000 years. Important note, at least 1,000 years, okay? So if you're thinking, hey, you know, he passed away 1892, so 1,000 years, so it brings it to 2892. None of you are going to be around anyway, so. But 2892 is not per se the date. That is at least the minimum date, okay? So it could be 1,010 years or 1,100 years, or the point is at least 1,000 years from the time of Baha'u'llah's intimation of his revelation in October of 1852. So this is the 1,000 years is not from his passing, but from his intimation point. So it goes to 2852. Okay, so that is the point. All right. Although the day star of divine guidance set with the ascension of Baha'u'llah, the creative energies released through his revelation have continued its evolution through Abdul Baha and the Baha'i administrative order towards realizing of the world order envisaged and ordained by Baha'u'llah. You all recall the words, the Son of Baha has set, right? The Son of Baha has set. So this is, but we all know that, the sun may have set, but this is the evolution of this faith is that it's not over after, namely Abdul Baha. It's not over after the passing of Baha'u'llah. And this is the incredible thing about this faith is we have this covenant, unique covenant. Okay, so let us, okay, let us continue. Okay, and let me have Miss Marianne read this slide for us. And don't forget you're muted, dear Miss Marianne. This is a new thing since COVID. I guarantee pre-COVID, no one said you are muted, you know, and ever since COVID, everyone's zooming and booming, as they say, you're on, you know, you are muted, you know, so please, Marianne, you have the floor.
Okay, as highlighted in paragraphs 92 and 93, the passing of Abdul Baha ended the heroic age of the faith, but opened the formative age, will continue until the establishment of the golden age of the cause of Baha'u'llah. According to Shoghi Effendi, these three ages are eternally linked through the will and testament of Abdul Baha.
Excellent. Thank you, dear Miss Marianne. So we've talked about the ages of Baha'u'llah early on in this course. And one key point I want to bring back, as they say, was that even if and when we enter the golden age, okay, at that point in time, the golden age is not an event, okay? There will be also stages within the golden age, okay? It's not like, oh, we did it, hunky-dory, you know, everything is great, right? So there will be, just like there are plans within the formative age, you know, and reaching, you know, periods and goals and everything, just like that will also be within the golden age. So these will be stages also within that age too. So back to it. Riaz John, بفرمایید.
Thank you. Thank you so much. There's a point that I want to bring to our collective attention.
Mm-hmm.
And it is something we are not, as Baha'is, we are not comfortable mentioning. And that's the appellation or designation given to Abdul Baha by Baha'u'llah in Baha'u'llah's will and testament, referring to Abdul Baha as the mystery of God.
Mm.
We are comfortable in referring to Abdul Baha as the perfect exemplar of the Baha'i revelation. But there is also this designation or qualification or appellation of Abdul Baha being the mystery of God. And now, similarly, with the guardian of the cause of God, Shoghi Effendi, there is also a similar appellation or designation used by Abdul Baha in his will and testament, calling Shoghi Effendi the sign of God.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel we should keep these two special designations in our minds, and as time goes by, meditate on their meaning, on their significance, and become comfortable using them when referring to Abdul Baha as the mystery of God and Shoghi Effendi as the sign of God.
Absolutely.
Just my personal approach. Thank you.
No, spot on, Riaz John. These are terms not just of love and affection. these are the titles of these central figures, as well as of the beloved guardian. And the title that the beloved guardian that Riaz John mentioned, the sign of God on earth, Ayatollah. These mullahs, that often have big turbans, ayatollahs. The actual term is Ayatollah, the sign of God, Ayatollah, the sign of God. And the beloved guardian, his title is Ayatollah, the sign of God, and he has this title of being the sign of God on earth. It's an incredible title and honor appellation, if we truly understand it. It's and the other titles, there's many, and the beloved guardian, His Holiness Abdul Baha, didn't want us to per se focus on themselves of these titles, but we should, in our own hearts and our own minds and our own understandings, know who these individuals, these blessed and sanctified and pure souls are in reference to their titles too. And so that's a very, very valid point, dear Riaz John. And for me personally, Ehsan, when we can never claim to even have any understanding of Abdul Baha. Cannot. He is so above and beyond. And so, that's why he is Sir-Ullah, the mystery of God. And our hopes, our aims, our purpose is to ever come closer to, in our actions, in our words, in our reflections, and our behaviors, to conform, in a way that would make Abdul Baha happy, because we cannot come to that, but just through our behaviors. And so this is something that is a day by day, ruse by ruse kind of thing, and it's something I often ponder on, Riaz John, is that, and they say thumbs up for bringing that to our attention. Moving on. Now, we're getting back, checking our time. We got about 10 or so minutes. Now, a good chunk of this section was on the will and testament of Abdul Baha, and I encourage you all to study the will and testament of Abdul Baha. It's not very long, and this is a document. It's a charter document of the world order of Baha'u'llah. It's one of the charter documents, foundation document for the Baha'i revelation. So the beloved guardian is making the following significant references to this will and testament of Abdul Baha in paragraph 94. These are some points he makes. He says it is the product of the permeation and evolution of the energies released through the law of Baha'u'llah within the mind of Baha'u'llah, within the mind of Abdul Baha. It is the offspring of the mystical intercourse between Baha'u'llah and the chosen recipient of his divine purpose, Abdul Baha. It is the coming about of the twin surging seas, in the sense, Baha'u'llah, Abdul Baha, they were coming together, the mystical intercourse between Baha'u'llah and this chosen recipient, Abdul Baha, coming together, and the product, that child of the covenant, is the will and testament of Abdul Baha. This is the creation, and this creation creates what? What does this creation create? The administrative order. This is the institutions come from this, namely the Universal House of Justice. The Universal House of Justice was in Kitab Akhdas, right? But also coming about in this is the National Spiritual Assemblies. The coming about in this is the guardianship, but also the clarification of the roles of the Universal House of Justice is in the Will and Testament of Abdul Baha. So this is a document of such importance that is not only complementary and the words of the beloved guardian, it's not only complementary, but fundamental, connected to the entire fabric of what is the tapestry of Baha'i world order. It's part and parcel of it, cannot be separated. The beloved guardian makes the following significant references to the will and testament of Abdul. As the child of the covenant, the will can no more be divorced from who supplied the original and motivating impulse than from the one who ultimately conceived it. It cannot be separated from the one who conceived it, namely Baha'u'llah. So it cannot be separated from the revelation of Baha'u'llah. Now the revelation, the words of Abdul cannot be separated. It's all part and parcel, complementary, integral component together. The mysterious purpose of Baha'u'llah has been so infused into the conduct of Abdul Baha and their motives so united that the mere attempt to disassociate the teachings of the former from any system which the ideal exemplar, namely Abdul Baha, of those same teachings has been established, would amount to be a what? Repudiation of one of the most sacred and basic truths of the faith. Cannot separate the words of Baha'u'llah and the words of Abdul Baha. This would be tantamount to being a repudiation against one of the most fundamental and sacred basic truths of our faith, fundamental verities. So then we go to these incredible quotes. The first one we find is also from the beloved guardian. We find it in Light to Guidance. And the second is in God Passes By. So in paragraph 94, the will and testament of Abdul Baha is referred to by the beloved guardian as the charter of the administrative order of Baha'u'llah. He states in another message, all the authority of the administrative bodies, as well as of the guardian himself, is mainly derived from this tremendous document. I reiterate, here we go. So if you want to understand the weight of the will and testament of Abdul Baha, again, will and testament of Abdul Baha, all the authority of the administrative bodies, as well as of the guardian himself, is mainly derived from this tremendous document, the will and testament of Abdul Baha. Cannot be overstated how important that document is as a chartered document, foundation document of the Baha'i faith. Now, the beloved guardian says, the charter which called into being, outlined the features and set in motion the processes of this administrative order is none other than the will and testament of Abdul Baha, his greatest legacy to posterity, the brightest emanation of his mind. The brightest emanation of his mind. That will be a pop quiz question later on at the end of the course, okay? So I'll be like, what was the brightest emanation of the mind of Abdul Baha? And everyone should all say the will and testament of Abdul Baha, right? So there you go. Okay. We're a few minutes in. That will be we'll close it off. We'll finish this up next week. So this was just per se getting into really, now we're getting into the administrative order, and the beloved guardian really wants to first hit home what is the foundation of the institutions, and that is the will and testament of Abdul Baha. So he's presenting this to us. Okay, excellent, dear friends. Any questions, any thoughts, any insights at this point before we close it off for tonight? And my dear Valerie, as always, thank you for, correcting any of these slides. Some of my chubby fingers might, not put the correct terminology or whatever. Anything that I do not, if any errors or anything, send it to me email them to me, because then I can edit them later on, because I often I don't get times to read the chats or anything, or edits and anything. Just shoot them to me, or if I ever say anything that I'm like, hey Ehsan, I'm not sure about that, or hey Ehsan, it's anything like that. Just shoot me an email, and I'm most happy to converse, and we can talk about those things. Excellent. I enjoyed our class this evening. And any other thoughts, comments, or questions?
Allah, I just want to say I am
Oh,
come back.
look who's back from Africa. How was your trip?
It's a beautiful trip, and then it's a winter. The place where I went over there, it's so cold in the wet, but it was a very good time, family time. I've been talking about the Baha'i faith with the families and some friends over there. And then when I went to Ethiopian Baha'i Center, they are doing the Ruhi classes, the first Ruhi class books, and then they are all, like most of them, like 40 people or something, they are non-Baha'is. They are working hard over there. I just see them very well. And then that's it, really. And then it was a good time because I was sick a little bit because of food, stuff like that. And my stomach a little hurt me. And then I went to the other provinces and then go around and the places. So it is really beautiful. I had a good time. But I miss you guys.
Likewise, we were very happy to have you back. Thank you very much for sharing your testimony. Thank you.
Yeah, so now the time adjustment is a little hard time for me. I come yesterday late night, so it was just trying to join you. I come late, so. But one thing which I heard from your talk now is to be, when you say Ayatollah, you say that means is to be the sign of God. Is that what it means?
That's correct. The sign of God.
How can this can be true like that? Because Ayatollah Khomeini now is he a sign of God? Because like the Guardian or what? How this title is to be named like that? Can you explain more?
It's just like,
sorry about that. Yeah?
Dear Tesfaye, many people take up their own titles or their own appellations, and saying, I am this or I am that, The reality is this title of the beloved guardian being the sign of God on earth.
I know that one, yeah, but this one is...
The reality is by their, the easiest way to look at it is this, by what it says in the Gospels, when it says, by their fruits, you shall know them, look to the fruits, and you will see, is the fruits of the beloved guardian representative as a sign of God on earth? Does he exude, the qualities of being a sign of God on earth? And then you can look to anyone else who claims that, and it's very simple. So
that's why I'm just asking you, because this is
I'm not saying anything against anyone else. I'm just very simply saying, talking about the beloved guardian here. And the reality is, in my understanding, I can very, as they say, with certitude, with Iran, with certitude, say the beloved guardian is the sign of God on earth. If you study his life, you study his works, you study his teachings, you study any facet, I'm not talking any facet of his life, what he is, who he is, he is the sign of God on earth. And anyone that claims that, you have to put them up to that test. And if that test doesn't, meet it, then, you can pretty much say, it doesn't, they don't cut it, But the beloved guardian, at least in my eyes, what he lived, how he lived. It's very apparent. So anyway, dear testifier, and yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, many people have claimed to that title too, and they are continuing to claim this title. And they have no idea of what that title really means. They think it's just a very high clergy title, and as opposed to a very spiritual station. It's actually to do of having a very high spiritual station, as opposed to religious theocratical station of being in a government or this kind of theocracy. It's but I don't want to get into all the dimensions of it and also mention individuals. But excellent.
Also,
It's all right.
Oh, Riaz John, please go ahead.
I should point out that Shoghi Effendi did not adopt this title himself.
Right.
It's the word of Abdul Baha, who is the interpreter appointed by Baha'u'llah. So it's Abdul Baha who is designating his station as the sign of God. Now, as far as in the Arabic, I have not heard the actual Arabic of this title in the Quran Testament, and I would be interested if someone could dig up the actual Arabic.
That's another great point you made, Riaz John. What's interesting is Baha'u'llah, he from the Surah Qusna, the tablet of the branch, right? Title after title for Abdul Baha, right? And other writings, we've shared all those other places where title after title for Abdul Baha. Then we come to Abdul Baha and title after title for the beloved guardian, right? Abdul Baha, if we go to Abdul Baha's only place that he gives himself a title is, my name is Abdul Baha, my title is Abdul Baha, my highest honor is Abdul Baha. He doesn't take up any other title, even though Baha'u'llah has given him these titles. He says, my name is Abdul Baha, right? Then we go to the beloved guardian. The beloved guardian has a whole bunch of titles too, but does the beloved guardian take up all those titles? No. He says, I am the guardian. And you can go look up what title it actually takes. He says, I am the guardian of the cause of Baha'u'llah. He says, I am the servant, in the sense of being of service to, Baha'u'llah, the threshold of Baha'u'llah. You don't see the titles and appellations, the absolute humility of Abdul Baha, absolute humility of the beloved guardian is mind-blowing in the sense, the whole Baha'i world was worshiping these individuals, worshiping in the sense, but they would, and they were humans. I want everyone to understand these people were humans too. Obviously Abdul Baha was perfect exemplar, but the beloved guardian, these people were worshiping him. But the absolute humility of this individual.
He referred to himself as your true brother.
Yes, go read his writings, go read his letters. Your true brother, your in his service, in his service. And he would always put himself together in your true companion in service with you, and always, having this sense that we're working together in this service, and that he would never think of himself elevated over another. He was always working in camaraderie with the friends. That's how.
And today we read, "Oh, brethren in Abdul Baha."
Right, and this is the words of the beloved guardian. Oh, brethren, right? And truly awesome. I love that we talk about, these are often topics that we don't get to talk about as much in studies and deepenings. And these are things that we managed to do in this class. So I'm very happy. And dear friends, we're at that time, the appointed time, as we're a few minutes over. So let us have our closing prayer. Next week, we're going to continuing our study of the administrative order. It's going to be some really awesome slides, because now we're going to get into that period, that awesome, incredible testing period from when the beloved guardian passed away, right? And we entered into what's called the ministry of the custodians, right? Which was an incredible testing period for the friends. And so we're going to talk about also these individuals that were called hands of the cause of God. So that this will all be coming up. So it's going to be very interesting, our study coming up. Without any further ado, dear friends, let's have our closing prayer. And thank you so much, as always. So any one of you, dear friends, please.
O thou who art the Lord of Lords, I testify that thou art the Lord of all creation and the educator of all beings, visible and invisible. I bear witness that thy power hath encompassed the entire universe, and that the hosts of the earth can never dismay thee, nor can the dominion of all peoples and nations deter thee from executing thy purpose. I confess that thou hast no desire except the regeneration of the whole world and the establishment of the unity of its peoples and the salvation of all them that dwell therein. Baha'u'llah.
Beautiful, Miss Claudia. Thank you so much. Good night.
All
Thank
right.
you, every one of you.
Aloha.
Everybody, thank
Good
you.
night, every one of you.